Welcome to the Manic podcast, where we respect fashion's past, analyze fashion's present, and get excited about fashion's future. I'm Liberty Imhoff, founder and creative principal of fashion media company Manic. Several times per week, I'll bring you episodes about exciting things happening in fashion, discussion about current issues facing the industry, and the places and people that have made the fashion industry great. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Instagram at the Manic Podcast and at Manic, both linked in our show notes. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Manic Podcast. I'm Liberty, your host. It's been a while. I had to take an unexpected brief hiatus, but for good reason, I promise. And in today's episode, we're going to have an honest discussion about what I've been up to since our last episode went up on September 1st. So, I actually had COVID in September, and so did my husband. We tested positive for it while New York Fashion Week was going on, but after we had gotten back home to our apartment from seeing shows, we immediately went into quarantine for 10 days each. His positive diagnosis was 2 days after mine, so we quarantined for about 12 days total. That kind of killed New York Fashion Week for me, as well as the rest of Fashion Month. I just couldn't bring myself to pay attention to the endless drumbeat of shows while I was sick, and after I was in immediate recovery as well. It just didn't seem like it mattered the way that it should have mattered when I was having trouble breathing and couldn't stop coughing, and yet I'm supposed to pay attention to all of these fashion shows that are going on for the entire month. So, yeah, it just didn't seem like it mattered like it should. I had all of this content planned for our website. We were going to shows, and it just didn't happen. We didn't get any content up at all. And as for the podcast, it was hard to bring it all to a halt at that particular point because we had just started to rank in the United States. We just started to rank here. And I was super hyped about that. And it's something that I've been waiting for a long time. But physically, I just wasn't there. I couldn't do it. And one reason that this is all a big deal is because Manic Metallic's content is primarily handled by me, with my husband hopping in to assist with creative work every so often. Since we were out, we didn't have proper coverage to get our work out or to cover the shows. I might want to think about bringing in reinforcements to avoid this happening in the future, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. So what I've gone over for the podcast in my mind while having COVID and getting over it is this. We're going to do a couple of episodes without the structure that I've so loved these first couple of seasons of creating the podcast. That means that for the Manic Metallic podcast, I'm going to hit record and talk about fashion and the fashion industry. Same level of intelligence, same quality, so don't worry. I'll keep it as focused as possible, but I want to see what happens when I loosen up a bit on a structure. What that could look like is 1 to 2 episodes per week. I think that this is a manageable pace for me to come back into doing regular work because I'm still having lots of fatigue. And I'm doing everything that I can to bring my mind and my body back to health in a sustainable way. Because if you think about it, sustainability isn't just about not using plastic and creating clothing out of fungi. It is about creating our lives at as sustainable a pace as possible. We all need to respect ourselves, and I refuse to let any job or career or company or industry run me into the ground. You should refuse that too. Your job will move to quickly replace you when you die. That is, after they offer thoughts and prayers to your family. I know that I work for myself, so I'm lucky that I can halt work when I need to do so. But if there's anything that you, especially if you are in the fashion industry or are hoping to enter it, if there's anything that you need to hear, it's this. Your body does not belong to capitalism. That's something that I saw on a book at an indie bookstore nearby to my house recently. And isn't it the truth? I'm depressed that I forgot what book that it was on, but if you're familiar with who it is, whose book that it is, what the title of it is, please DM me. I might go and buy it. It looks so good. For those that work in fashion or hope to, don't be a slave to this industry. And I know it's hard because working in fashion is a lifelong dream for so many people, but you've got to take care of yourself. So many in fashion don't get that message until it's too late. So if this helps even one person out there, then I will have done my job. And that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks so much for sticking with me despite my recent absence. And remember, health over capitalism. See you in episode 34. Thanks for listening. If you got value out of today's episode, it'd mean a lot to me if you'd rate, review, and subscribe to the Manic podcast. Be sure to tell all of your fashion-inclined friends and coworkers about the podcast as well. This would really help us to spread our message about fashion being an art, discipline, and force for societal change. And don't forget to stay in touch with us by subscribing to the Manic newsletter and following us on Instagram. Feel free to reach out to us through either of those means. I'd love to hear from you. I'll link these all in the show notes. You're the best. See you next episode.